Wow, that was great. I just got back from seeing Alita Battle Angel. Uh, that was amazing. Okay, so little background on this movie. This was based off of a 1990 manga called Gunnm, which was short for Gun Dream. And when it got translated into the US, it got renamed to Battle Angel Alita. And eventually, James Cameron, you know, the Terminator guy, Aliens, he did a little movie called Titanic and Avatar. But yeah, he ended up catching wind of it, and this movie's pretty much been in production for almost 20 years now. And this is essentially the final front of it. In fact, James Cameron got so busy with Avatar and its sequels, he didn't even direct this movie. Robert Rodriguez ended up directing it. In case you guys are wondering who he was director of such movies like El Mariachi, Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, From Dusk Till Dawn, which is available on Netflix for you to watch, and he also did the Spy Kids movies as well. So, yeah, there's that. And he also did another movie called Sin City as well. And apparently that was when James Cameron ended up bringing him the idea of Alita. And I'm definitely going to say this right off the bat. This is probably the best adaptation of a manga or anime I have ever seen. But then again, when you're comparing it with movies like Dragon Ball Evolution and 2017's Ghost in the Shell, that really isn't a big accomplishment. But yeah, what is the story? The movie is set in the year, I think it's 2253, and it takes place after an event called the Fall, in which humanity is essentially this post-apocalyptic wasteland that's sort of a mix of Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner. If you've seen or heard any of both of those movies, you understand immediately what I'm talking about. There's two different cities. Up above, there's a city called Xylon, where everybody wants to live. And underneath that, there's something called Iron City, where pretty much everybody who couldn't go to Xylon have to stay. And Dr. Ido, played by Christoph Waltz, discovers a body of a woman. And when he wakes it up, she doesn't have any idea who she is. And he ends up giving her the name Alita until she can be able to remember. And Alita is played by Rosa Salazar. I think that's her name. Sorry if I may have butchered that, but hey, what can you do? But eventually, Alita begins to attract some attention from Vector, played by Mahershala Ali, and Dr. Ido's ex-wife, played by Jennifer Connelly. I can't remember her name, but yeah. And she ends up falling in love with a boy called Hugo, who I cannot remember the actor's name right now, but whatever. So yeah. I definitely say that the movie is definitely, this movie is great. Like, the visuals are amazing. I was very fortunate enough to see this in 3D, as you can clearly see by my 3D glasses. I definitely recommend that you do see this movie in 3D. It is worth it. It is worth extra money and all that other stuff. And the visuals are so amazing in here. And the effects are great, too. Like, I stopped seeing Alita as just a motion capture performance capture CG creature to essentially sort of like an actual person right there. It's amazing about how far along computers have gone. So you got King Kong, which broke grounds, and then you got Jurassic Park, which broke even bigger grounds, and then you got Alita, which is just a little bit above Jurassic Park in terms of visual effects. But that doesn't mean the movie is completely perfect. There are some narrative problems about it. The romance I didn't believe for a couple moments. I didn't really believe the romance at all, but there were a couple moments in which it probably worked in the manga, but if you were just going into this completely blind, you had no idea what it was about, you probably think it was kind of stupid. Like, Dr. Ido is something called a hunter-warrior, in which they're sort of just bounty hunters, essentially. And the idea of seeing this old man carrying around this giant sledgehammer thing, stopping cyborgs, that may work in a manga, but it might not translate well to live action. And, of course, this movie is setting up sequels, which is expected with James Cameron because he's currently working on Avatar 2 through 5, and he hasn't even started production on Avatar 2 yet. And we're supposed to be getting that sometime around 2020, which, yeah, I wouldn't buy it. I'm not that big a fan of Avatar. The visuals were nice, but overall, when it comes to the substance of the film, it's just eh. But back to Alita. Okay. Some see the sequel set up as a bit of a turnoff, and Edward Norton actually appears in the movie. He's actually Nova, who is the main villain, who's the one who manufactures all these cyborgs. He's up on Xylon. But the thing is, though, he went uncredited, and he appeared at the very, very end, setting up the idea, the fact that he's going to be the villain that Alita's going to be fighting in the sequel, which I very much hope that there is a sequel. Suppose that this movie had a budget around $170 to $200 million, and it needs to make at least $500 million in order to break even. Go see this movie. Go support it. We need to see a sequel to this. And the thing is, though, it's an adaptation of the first two mangas. It's a 9-book series. It adaptates the first 2 books while taking elements from 3 and 4, like books 3 and 4, like the motorball sequences. Those came from books 3 and 4, which the motorball sequences are amazing, which is another reason why you should see this in 3D. The action sequences are amazing, and in 3D, they're even better. Now, hold on, I'm gonna take these glasses off because these are getting irritating. I'm not that big a supporter of 3D. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it is a bit of a gimmicky format, but here it does work. It does work. But, yeah. The thing is, though, it very much feels like these people, Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron, it feels like they actually legitimately cared about trying to make the best movie that they possibly could given the circumstances, and I applaud them for that. We should applaud the fact that this movie actually got made, and it's as good as it is. So, yeah, Alita is amazing. The performances are all good. I do feel like the Jennifer Connelly and Mahershala Ali, I do think that they're a bit underutilized, and they're a bit wasted in here. They weren't terrible or anything like that, but I just feel like they didn't have much to do. And Dr. Ido, he has an assistant, and she's barely given a line of dialogue. I actually tried to count and see how many lines of dialogue she had. She had about 3 or 4 lines. In the manga, he had an assistant, which he pretty much had lost half of his head. And surprisingly enough, the guy who pretty much lost half of his brain had more to say than this person here. But, yeah, I do really, really like this movie. The visuals are fantastic because, it is James Cameron after all. So, there's that. I thought all the performances, whether they were minor or not, I thought they were good. Particularly, the girl, I'm forgetting the actress's name now. The person who played Alita, Rosa Salazar. Sorry if I butchered that, but, yeah, I thought she was great. And yeah, I do definitely. If you're going Rotten Tomatoes right now, it currently has a 60% critical score, but an audience score of 93. So, it's very apparent that this is a movie that is not made for critics. Do not listen to the critics. Go see this movie. Go support it. Just find any spare time that you can. Just go see this movie. Just do it. Just go see it. Well, anyways, as I'm currently filming this right now, I'm in the middle of my Oscar rundown. I was able to barely get any free time because, I'm watching all these movies. I'm marathoning so many movies, but I was actually able to get a little bit of free time to actually watch this, and I thought it was really, really good. So, yeah. Alita Battle Angel, I definitely would give it an 8 out of 10. So, until next